You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode up in Edmond, Oklahoma today with return guest Talor Gooch. It's been 2-3 years since you last came on the podcast.
Yes.
A lot has changed since you last came on the podcast.
I mean, there's been a thing called COVID happened too. So
that's happened.
It's been more than 2 years then, for sure.
It has. I'm going to look back through my notes. I should have probably pulled this up before we started recording, but I'm going to look back because when we last met and you did the podcast, you were planning a wedding. You've had a baby since then. You've won a golf tournament on the PGA Tour. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's happened.
Yeah. So hopefully, let's do this in another few years, and hopefully, as many good things have happened as well.
It was February the 21st of 2019.
God, it's crazy.
And that was episode 37. So I'll link that below if people want to go back and listen to kind of like your origin story, which is a lot of what we covered, going to Oklahoma State and growing up and kind of, love for golf and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have to cover that stuff anymore because we've already done it, which is a good thing for people listening. They can go and check that other episode out. But mate, good to catch up. It's been a while, right?
Yeah. It's, as you know, it's a kind of a crazy life that and schedule that I'm in the midst of right now. So I'm glad this worked out.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're recording at the end of February. TPC or the Waste Management just happened. Mm-hmm. I've never been down there, but I mean, chaos, I think, is the only word that works.
Yeah.
What's it like stepping into that arena and making twos?
Yeah, man, dude, it's.
Did you make 3 twos?
Yeah. 2 twos. I birdied Friday, Saturday. Yeah. And it's. I always tell people it's the best way I can describe it is it's the whole thing is a spectacle. Like it's a bucket list thing that everyone needs to do because it's such an anomaly. But as a player walking, through the tunnel to 16T, it's the one moment in our sport where you feel like a gladiator almost, right?
Yeah.
People talk about how it's comparable to other sports where it's, feels like you're going into Lambeau or you're going into Yankee Stadium or something, but it's even different than that because like I compare it to being like a gladiator almost because like when you go in there, there's not 24 other players on the field that like it's you like and you have the entire crowd, this entire stadium, and it's all honed and focused in on you. And you're trying to do what I think is one of the toughest thing in all of sports is hit a golf ball where you try to get it to go, right? And so it's just it's crazy, it's awesome. I'm glad that we don't do it on a weekly basis because it's a lot. But man, it's so cool, and I think it's just great for the game.
Well, and it's not. I watched a little bit of the coverage, and it's not just that hole that's loud. It's loud everywhere, right?
No doubt.
Like there's no golf etiquette. It's like a Happy Gilmore scene. It's thrown out the window. Like there's just people everywhere screaming at you.
Yeah.
And I think watching some of the clips of watching people tee it up. I think Xander was over a tee shot on like 15 maybe, water left, I think. And it's like as he's pegging it in the ground, this guy's like, "Don't hit it in the water." I'm like,
yeah.
What?
So on a former PGA Tour player, his name is John Mallinger. The Monday after the Waste Management, he had a charity event that a handful of us players went and played and helped him out and whatnot. And one of the guys that came and joined is Colt Knost, and so he's does some of the color commentary and whatnot. And so this was the Monday after the Waste Management finish, and so we're all just telling stories, talking about the week and everything on the flight there. And he goes, the craziest story I probably had. He goes, I'm sitting there and I see, this group of girls, all in high heels and like dressed to the nines when you're at a golf tournament and you're like, most people are walking miles and miles. And he goes, obviously they weren't there for golf. And he goes, I heard one of them essentially say like, oh wait, there's a golf tournament here? And that's a great way to describe it. It's a basically like a music festival, and there happens to be golf being played in the middle of it.
Right in the middle.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and like it's kind of influencer central too, isn't it? Or like people trying to be influencers always seem to go there, and like, I mean, that's kind of like that puts me off.
Yeah. It's not very golf like in that sense. But again, like I said, it's a great way to bring energy, notoriety to the game, and whether it's in the the old-fashioned way or not, I think it's still good press.
Yeah. I mean, are you nervous standing over that tee shot? Like, are you shaking? Like, is it like real? It's a real thing, right?
Oh, no doubt about it. I remember. So the first year I played it, I was probably right before whenever we met or did the first podcast. It was back in 19. And on Tuesday, I was playing practice round, and one of my good buddies, Max Homa, had just Monday qualified to get in. So I texted him like, Tuesday, let's go play, practice round. And so we walked off the 9 green, and we hear like this huge like roar, and it's a Tuesday. Like this isn't Sunday, this isn't Saturday. Tuesday, there's roars on 16. Yeah. Like we look at each other and we're like, what the heck, dude? This is not normal. And so we end up getting to 16, and I'm walking through the tunnel on 16, and my heart rate starts to go. And I'm like, dude, it's not even Wednesday or Thursday. Like, this is Tuesday, and it's getting your juices going. And so, it brings a whole different just energy and feeling to. So yeah, you're nervous for sure.
Yeah, and the good thing is like there's a lot of tee boxes there too, right? So it's not just like a wedge. It's like I mean, you especially that back flag, right? You're hitting what little eights, maybe little sevens, depending on time of day.
Yeah, I was playing with Adam Hadwin on maybe Saturday, and we were talking about like how that back pin, it's a tough pin, especially when the greens get bouncing. And he goes, I remember one year there was a little bit of wind picking up, and it was like a little bit chilly. He goes, I hit 6 iron in, like. So you can have a wedge in, like when Sam Ryder made the hole in one, there was a wedge that day. They scooted up. They put a kind of a tucked pin where you could kind of go at it. So it can be a wedge, or it can be 7/8, 6, 7/8 iron kind of thing. So it's awesome.
Well, it's probably great to have a few of the guys there too, right? A few of the boys down there, and just kind of made a week of it, rather than just like it's not just a normal golf tournament. Like you kind of, hey guys, it's gonna have a good time, and like and it helps. Obviously, you played pretty well that week too.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's always fun to have family, friends, and people there to support and hang out when you get done golfing, go kick it. But it makes it that much more fun when kind of get in the thick of things a little bit.
Yeah. Talking of music festivals, it's kind of, I mean, you never see this, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were fights out there, right? Drinks flying around, people saying stuff, and like,
Oh, I mean,
it's got to happen.
I mean, so obviously I'm, in the thick of it, like grinding, but I mean, you always hear stories about how many people are getting arrested, this fight, that fight. What my caddy and I like to do is we like to point out each round, the passed out drunk guys. Like you can literally see, like you can point them and spot them from distance, like, oh dude, look at him, he's passed out over there. So you get, man, the stories are endless, needless to say.
Such a cool spot though. I mean, I guess it's a bucket list for a lot of people to go to, and the amazing thing is it's centered around a sport that we both love, which is just never really thought that would actually be possible in a real professional setting, but it is.
Correct. I heard a crazy stat maybe 2 years ago. One of the days had set the record for like a single day sporting event attendance record. Yeah. And it had like surpassed some Olympic record of a single day sporting event attendance. And I was like, that's crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
It's mad. Like I said, I haven't done it, but I have to take it off the list just to see it. But
bucket list, absolutely.
If people are listening and can hear a little voice in the background, we are in the house. Thank you for having me over, and we have. I mean, you have an addition to the family, little baby Collins. How's dad life?
Man, it's been, as dads know out there, it's been amazing. It's been challenging. It's, ups, downs, sleeps, no sleeps at times. Thankfully, I have a wife that helps on that end so that the no sleeps doesn't happen as much for me. But man, it's life has grown, and it started off a bit of a whirlwind for us because she was born on a Wednesday, and I left Sunday to go over to your part of the world and play the British Open.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I text one of my buddies who kind of helps me on the some of the finance side of things. And when I was literally on the flight over, I texted him, I'm like, over the Atlantic Ocean, and I have a 4-day-old baby. And I was like, all right, dude, we need to talk about life insurance because I'm on this flight, I'm going to a foreign country, and I have a 4-day-old baby. So we started off with the whirlwind, and it's really hasn't slowed down since.
That's good though, right? That's I mean, as people like to say, announcers like to say this, you got more context and you got more, the more to play for now, right? There's a little bit more there than just you and Ally now.
Correct.
But perspective, I think, is what they like to say. They love to repeat on PGA Tour.
Yeah.
But yeah, going to the Open for the first time, that was a kind of a late. You found out pretty late, right?
I did. Yeah. We were at the hospital, we were at the doctor's office making like one of the last, visits before, she was going to go into labor, and it was not even like a month before.
Yeah.
And we find out like, all right, you're in. And so like we're having to make game time because of course I'm like, I can't leave you like 2 days after, but then at the same time, it's like I'm first time getting into the Open, and so it's just it was needless to say, it was a whirlwind of a time, and I'm fortunate and thankful that it happened the way that it did, because it was crazy. I mean, it could have gone a bunch of different ways, and fortunately, it all worked out well. Yeah,
and you played in the Open like during COVID. I remember texting you saying you need to go to this place, and you're like, I'm pretty much locked down. Like, which is tough.
Yeah,
but I think you did tell me that the Players Lounge had good wine. I think is what you told me.
Yes, they did. They had a little whiskey. They had it stood up to the expectations of European Tour golf, and how they, you always around Ryder Cup time you think about the camaraderie of the European team versus USA, and it just makes sense when you go and see like after the rounds, like they're literally going to the bar and the locker room and having a drink together and kicking it, where in the States it's not as buddy as that. So that was such a cool part of the week.
Yeah. Going over there, had you played links golf before that? Had you been to Europe and played golf on a buddy's trip?
No, it was first time over to Europe.
Yeah. So the wind's not really an issue because you grew up in Oklahoma, playing in Oklahoma State, so wind is not an issue, but just general different golf over there, isn't it? A lot of ground balls and pop bunkers of the enemy. And what was that first experience like, or first practice round like?
Well, the first practice round was straight off the plane, so it was a little bit I probably don't remember much actually, but no, it was it was so cool. And like you said, the wind part wasn't foreign to me. The tough part was the speed of the greens and around the greens, like you often see, like we joke about the scores, probably like the walking, the standard bearer and the scores that put into the system, green hit, putting. It's like there was probably times where they messed up because like there's so often there's really no difference, right? Yeah. And so that was an adjustment, and we talked about how much of an advantage it was, like Colin and a few other obviously big names went the week prior and played the Scottish before.
Gotcha.
And we were talking about what an advantage that was, because you start to get acclimated with that style of golf, with the speed of the greens, the just the undulation around the greens, just getting that just acclimated and familiar with it all, right. the nuance of it, because it is as it's very, very different. And in what we're trying to do, the difference between winning and missing the cut or playing well or not, it's very, very slim. And so that little bit of comfort and familiarity and just that acclimation to that style of golf, it makes a big, big difference.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed when I first came to the States. I struggled to putt and chip because the greens are so fast. And I remember the first USGA event I played in, I felt like I was putting down the stairs. And I putted so bad that week because I'd never putted on greens that fast. Yeah. But for you, it's the opposite. You're going there, they're putting at like a 10, right? Or an 11 maybe. Right. If it's windy, they are, but they don't look like they're fast either. Right. There's a lot of growth there, so they don't break as much. And like, I mean, are you a die putter or are you a bit of like a...
I'm a little bit of a die putter, which for me makes it tough, right? Yeah. And so it was such a change,
God, I do miss it. I can't wait to go back and play some golf over there. But yeah, it's like after playing events here, you're just like, it's different golf. I mean, people don't get into it unless you've played both, right?
Oh, no doubt. And you always hear in my world about the difference in the golf and the difference in the fans, and it's it's essentially the antithesis of what we were just talking about with the waste management. Like, it's the complete opposite. And after now being over there, I haven't played the Masters yet. But I tell people, if I could win one golf tournament, it would be the Open. Yeah. And it's because of the environment, the fans, just the way that they, not that, again, like I said, I love waste management. I love the rowdiness. But there's just a different type of respect for the game, for what we're doing. I played with Bryson on Saturday, and this was at the Open, and this was at a time when there was, a lot of, Brooks and Bryson and this and that chatter and whatnot. And it was just crazy because I had played with them either right before or right after, and it was just crazy to see the difference in how fans treated him there versus here. Yeah. And again, like I said, I love some rowdiness. I wouldn't mind if golf got a little bit edgier, but it's so cool to see kind of just the roots of a gentleman's game be played, and the fans kind of reciprocate kind of that environment and that respect. Yeah.
And the one thing that comes to mind is you probably got clapped a lot for, like, if you were ever short-sighted, you're in a tough spot and you hit it to 10 feet, they probably really clapped you and they understood how good that shot was. Whereas out here, you're like, I've just basically got it to 10 feet, and that's amazing. I have a world-class shot. People are like, you don't get any claps. Right?
Correct.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, we laughed about it because, over here you can hit a wedge to 40 feet, but if it spun 20 feet to get to that 40 feet, people are, going crazy because everyone's just so much more infatuated by the awe-inspiring stuff, the shock factor stuff here, and where they just have a little bit better understanding of what the true just solid golf is, what a good play, what good golf is. So it's just different.
Do you think going forward then the plan would be to kind of, I guess, play the Scottish before and then take a family trip, because it'd probably be around your little one's birthday, right? So
that's super ironic you said that, but that's exactly what we're going to do. Awesome. And so I would have loved to have last year gone to the Scottish, but long story short, the PGA Tour just recently, basically got into a relationship with the European Tour, and now the Scottish they would send a handful of invites to, players from the PGA Tour US, and so I would have loved to play last year, but I wouldn't have gotten a spot in the field. Okay. Yeah. But now moving forward, because of the relationship with the PGA Tour and European Tour kind of changing, there's now going to be guaranteed a lot more spots for PGA Tour players. Yeah. And so based off of my play, I'm going to have a spot into that field. And so like I said, it's such a value, so valuable to go and play the week before. And it's just, get a chance to go and play. I mean, it's a dream come true kind of thing. And like you said as well, we keep talking about this little girl is going to be a little bit spoiled because we just went and submitted all of her passport paperwork, because she's going to be coming over. My wife and girl are going to come over for the Scottish, for the British, and her birthday's over at the same time. Awesome. And so it's going to be a cool trip.
What a great time for her to have a birthday.
Oh, right? Yeah. Must be nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, birthday trips forever now. Well, sorry. As long as you're playing, they're going to be around the Open and the Scottish.
Right? Oh, and just that on top of it, I have a couple weeks off after the Open. Yeah. And so we're going to stay over there and spend an extra week. We don't know for sure where we're going to go yet, but we're thinking maybe France.
Wine and champagne country.
I mean, just, when you're that close, you might as well pop over there.
Definitely. That's a must, isn't it? And like you said, it's benefit to you, from a performance standpoint, and it's also a benefit just because you're there. It's something you love to do. I mean, why not? The flights are the same if you stay for a week or for a month.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So, that'd be really cool to do that. And like I said, when you plan it out, you can plan out plenty of things to do. And, there's plenty of other stuff to do, and maybe you can time it up with, I don't know what the F1 schedule is, but I'm sure you could time it up with going to an F1 race.
So it was Silverstone last year was during the Open, and if I would have missed the cuts, I would have popped over and gone to it. One of my good buddies, Harold Varner, who we were just talking about, popped over and went and enjoyed it. So that would be. Now, if it's on the Sunday of the Open, I would rather be playing. But
of course,
that would be sweet.
Yeah, you mentioned playing with Bryson a couple of times. I mean, what's it like watching him? Standing on a tee box, watching him, and I guess. Did you know him before that? You probably saw his transformation, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
kind of seeing like that man mountain that he is now and how hard he's hitting it.
Yeah, it's something that's obviously a huge narrative in the golf world, media world of how long he hits it and whatnot, but it can't be overstated what he's done because I've since junior golf into college amateur golf, and now he's a year younger than me, but we played so much together, and I mean he used to be just an average length guy. Like I hit it further than him. He was not a long ball hitter by any means. In fact, his strength was how dang straight he hit it. Right,
it was impressive how straight he hit it.
Correct. And it's just, I mean, again, it cannot be overstated the transformation and how far he really hits it now. Like it's absurd. It's again, like I said, it's a narrative people talk about so much because the long ball gets all the attention, but it truly is absolutely incredible what he's been able to do.
Did you do you do a lot of kind of stats and dive into your numbers to see like, is it worth me trying to not change my swing, but trying to get in the gym more and focus my gym stuff more to gain an extra 2 or 3 mile an hour? I mean, is that something that you kind of thought, hey, that's worth it, or are you just like, I'll just stick to my putting? Yeah,
that's for me. I don't think that's the possible downside of it is not worth because there's he's not the first one to try to gain distance, right? And you just far too often historically you've seen guys that have struggled when they've made that change, and he's kind of more of the anomaly of he's continued to progress, right? And so I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and keep trying to progress, and I'll let him be the show pony for changing your body and your swing speed and all that.
Yeah, I don't think Allie would be too thrilled if you turned the house into a workout room and had a golf simulator in the front living room in front of the TV and the whole gym workout.
Yes, correct. He's got the bachelor pad set up. Let's just say that
set up for sure. But I mean, to that point, like obviously fitness is a huge part of your golf preparation. I mean, it's still something that you do, right? You're doing a lot, and your trainer. Was he Tiger's old trainer, or I mean, how the same guy, right? I forget his name, but obviously you're working on the right stuff.
is his name. Yeah, he works with a bunch of guys on Justin Thomas, Harold Varner, Lucas Glover, a bunch of guys, and he works with a bunch of guys in different sports. But I mean, it's when I was a senior in college, I had a back injury, and it was because of when I was in college, I was doing workouts that were, let's just say, not golf specific workouts.
Show muscles workouts.
And so I as we know in this game, it's a little bit different when you have injuries here versus other sports. Where other sports, you can power through injuries. You can, play on a little bit of a tight back, or you can play on a bum ankle or something. You can kind of play through the pain. But in golf, because we're such a refined sport, any kind of difference in your body, it makes a huge difference. And so, the health and the longevity of what you're doing is of the utmost importance. And so everything I'm doing from a training perspective, of course we want to be faster, but the priority is to continue to maintain health and create longevity with my game.
Yeah. Is most of it then focused towards speed? Like just core and speed?
I mean, it's everything, we try to add mass, as well, because, from a repetitive, perspective, like the only thing that absorbs the brunt of the force when you're hitting ball after ball after ball is mass, right? And that's also why, just to be frank, you don't see a lot of 5% fat golfers, because that's just not the way not to quote John Daly, but fat doesn't get pulled, right? So like we have to have a little bit of mass to our core, our body to kind of take the brunt of the, day after day, week after week repetition. I always tell people there was a cool sports science episode that ESPN used to do a series called Sports Science, and they did an episode where they highlighted, I think, Bubba Watson's swing, and they put a bunch of those balls would, kind of show in 3D, what the swing is doing, what your body's doing and everything. And they said basically up to that point of everything that they had measured and all across the other, all the other sports, they were like, the golf swing is the second most violent movement in sports that we have measured outside of. They did a linebacker in the NFL, I forget who it was, that like going
explosive movements,
going through and hitting a running back, and they were like, other than that movement and that force and that violence, the golf swing is the second most violent thing on the body. Jeez. And so because we're standing still in the same spot, people don't view it as a violent sport. I'm not saying it's a violent sport, but what I'm saying is
action.
And it's not easy on the body, and especially when it's as much repetition as what we're doing.
Yeah, the ground rotation, and you're right. Like, it makes sense when you say it like that. I wouldn't think of it like that, but listening to you explain it, like, it makes total sense.
Right.
Because of the rotation and torque and all the other stuff. Like, not to mention if you're trying to hit a stinger or other shots, like like everyone knows Tiger and all the injuries he had from that stuff. But yeah, it's fascinating how, like you mentioned, it's such a like a fine line between, even if you've just woken up with a crook neck, like because you've slept on a bad pillow or whatever it is, like it's going to affect your game, like. I remember once I played and I think I bite my nails because I've always bit my nails. I tried to stop and I can't stop. But I remember biting my nails too much and playing golf the next day, and it was cold, and it affected my grip pressure.
Right.
Absolutely. Little things, like it's nuts how it works. And when you're playing back home in freezing cold weather, and it's and you're playing with blades because you're 16 and you think you're all special. There's
absolutely.
like MP32 Mizuno butter knives I used to play with because I thought I was cool.
God, those are pure.
They're so good. But going forward, obviously, you're a winner now, and congratulations on that, because it's leading up to that. You were so close knocking on the door, and I remember texting Austin, I'm like, is this the week you're going to do it? And it was, what was it? Houston leading up, right? And then it was, you played with Hovland, right? In the final group. And I'm just like, can this happen now?
Yeah. Right.
And then obviously it happens at the RSM over, a week before Thanksgiving, right? You got all your family down there. I mean, as timing goes, like, that's probably, it's just a great time to have it. But I mean, talk me through like leading up to it, right? Like, you've got all those kind of close, you're like, I'm knocking on the door, I'm so close. It takes a lot of mental strength to continue to keep, like, a lot of people would have been like, wow, I just came T2 like, 3 times or whatever, like, made a bit of money, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But I mean, part of you is saying, I can still do this, let's get that first win, and you just refuse to back down, and then you go win the RSM.
Yeah, I mean, just the competitor in you. So when I was playing in Mexico, it was Mexico when I played with Victor in the final round, had a chance to go win, and I didn't get it done. And it's just like, it doesn't matter the type of success you have in golf, whether it's making money or getting into different events or whatever, like, we still want to win. Like, we're just we're competitors to our core. And so I've been playing some good golf for a while. All summer I was hitting it really, really well. And I just hadn't got the putter hot. As we know, golf, oftentimes the results are not necessarily a reflection of what you're doing. You kind of need the golf gods at times. You need certain courses to give you, the certain type of greens that are fit your eye or whatever it may be. It's just, it's a fickle game. But, I've been playing good golf for a while. And so I knew if I just kept doing what I was doing, and if I stayed on the track I was on, and if I just, trusted my day-to-day and week-to-week process, I'm like, man, we're gonna hit. It's there's too many things that are happening in a good way, and I'm getting in traffic, as my agent says. He goes, just keep getting in traffic. And I kept getting in traffic too often, and I was playing too well to not get something done.
Right.
And, fortunately, it was better late than never. And it's such a God thing, because 2 weeks, in Mexico, I was by myself when I had a chance to win. Didn't have family, friends, nobody there, and I didn't get it done, and it was crushing. And then 2 weeks later, have family there, and obviously wife and baby girl at the time was there, and it was just such a God thing. Like I said, it was like he said, all right, we're gonna wait until they're there to be there for your first win. And so it was such a cool thing, man.
Yeah. Dive into that for me, because and the God thing, because I know it's a huge part of your life, it's a huge part of your family life and your upbringing, and if anyone follows you on Instagram and sees you on a Sunday, you're on Life Church, and you're in that. Tell me about kind of that, and just that. I don't think we probably didn't cover this on our first podcast, but just kind of like how that's in your life, how much it means to you, and how also you kind of pull strength from that too, and rely on that kind of stuff, as well as a way to bounce things off, and just having that, I guess, security in faith and the Lord, and just I want to touch on that a little bit.
I was actually talking with someone about this yesterday. So in a game, so in golf, the greatest ever, I think, is Tiger, and kind of at the peak of his career, he had won, I forget the number, but it was between 20 and 25% of his tournaments he played in, he had won, right? Yeah. The next closest was Jack Nicklaus, and his was like 12%. So you're the third greatest of all time if you win 1 out of 10 tournaments. So it's a game of failure, right? Yeah. And so in a game of failure, that there's lesson after lesson and defeat after defeat, it can be easy to get down on yourself. And so that's for me such a big part of who I am, is to not rely on golf to be my identity. Because if how I viewed myself was based off my results, I would view myself in a bad way. My identity is through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and what He views in us, and what we're called to do, while we're here on this earth for Him, and so that's not only through the tough times, but through the good times, through it all. That's who I lean on, and that's what I'm always going to fall on. Is my faith, my belief, and what we're here for. And I know that what we're here for is more than just to hit a golf ball around, right? And so it's like I said, it was such a God thing that when I was getting close to winning, getting close to getting the job done, that I was, even though things were good and I was in contention, I was having some success, there were still frustrating times. And so it's those times even more so, I'm sitting in the back of the hotel room saying some prayers and asking what is this for? How am I supposed to react to this? How do I respond to this? And it's just the epitome of keeping faith and keeping my head down and trusting in His plan for me. Yeah.
And I mean, the timing, you're right, couldn't be any better with the family there. And I think you got a lot of love the following weeks from the PGA Tour, their content, got a nice little bump on Instagram with your followers went up, right? And a bunch of other cool stuff. And then had kind of like the little video that they did on you guys in Maui, which was really cool. But going forward, because you are now a winner on tour, you get a nice little bump in kind of tee times, right? And you get a little bit, I mean, how different was it, being treated as a winner compared to being treated as someone who, who's like, I say that, your average PGA Tour player, because there's 100 and however many guys are the best guys in the world, but was there a significant difference?
Well, yeah, and it's in large part because of what I was just saying, the greatest ever are winning 10% of the time, right? Yeah. And so that we all know and understand and recognize how hard it is to win on the PGA Tour, and you get rewarded for it, plain and simple. That's in our game, in our sport, it's the only thing that you do where you are then basically guaranteed a job for the next couple years, right? And so there's tons of benefits of winning, everything from the Masters to, like I said, having job security for the following 2 seasons, to the tee times change. You're in a different grouping of tee times. And so, there's a bunch of benefit from it, and also, like I said, just the respect of your peers, of knowing, you know what, like, you got the job done, and we all know that's a big step, and that doesn't happen just on accident, you know. And so it's a bunch of positives, and the cool thing too is, like, I was talking with my caddy about it. It's like, man, it's cool to see how I responded, because it's so easy to think, once you win, you're going to keep working hard and you're going to keep staying focused and hungry. But like I said, it's the first time where you can take a breath. Like, you do have 2 years of your PGA Tour card, and you can, be a little bit comfortable. And so, I was always curious, if I, was to win on the PGA Tour, like, how would I respond to that? Yeah. And it was cool, it just made me hungrier, if anything. It's like I got a little taste of victory, and it's like, dude, I want to do that more.
I want to keep doing this now. Yeah.
So it was super cool, and I like that. It didn't. There was no complacency. Yeah. So
right, because like you said, a lot of people get to that. And I think the one example I think of, back to kind of our mutual love for Formula One, that Rush movie. And James Hunt, who goes and wins his world championship and then just retires. Yeah. Right. Like, it's the total opposite. But I mean, there's people who have done it, and like, that's their goal. They've got to their goal, and they just, like, like, sponsors are coming in now because you're a winner, and then you just kind of make that money last forever and go and do something else. So, it's cool to hear you say that it just makes you hungrier, because, like you said, there are insane golf tournaments out there, like winning a green jacket, hoisting the claret jug, the Wanamaker, playing a Ryder Cup, whatever it is, like, you're not done yet, right? And part of you getting a taste of that, it's like, oh, now I'm on the radar for potentially, I'm definitely, I'm in a short list of group of guys that could get picked for a Ryder Cup because I've won a PGA Tour event, but I've still got to get there. I might have to go win another one, or like top 10 a bunch of times, or whatever it is. So, no doubt the goals are to win majors and play a Ryder Cup. And I mean, I can't imagine the time you would have if you and Max teed it up at a Ryder Cup. I'm sure you've spoken about that with him. Yeah. But
Rome, 2023.
2023 in Rome.
Yep.
Yeah, great food as well to celebrate.
Great food, a little decent wine.
I will be rooting against you. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
But it would be awesome if I was there in person rooting against you. I'd love to do that. That'd be great.
As long as we can drink a little wine, cheers.
We can do that for sure. But like, you're right, like, staying hungry, and that's really special for you, to just maintain that mentality and go forward. And coming up, obviously we have the Masters, right? The first time you're in it. I've a text off buddy of yours like, I'm going, I already planned everything, and that's the first thing I said to him too. I was like, hey, when you won, I texted him, I was like, are you going? He was, of course I'm going. But have you been down there yet since the win? Have you had an invite to see? I mean, have you got the invites gone out yet?
I'm leaving tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why you're going tomorrow.
I'll be there the next this Saturday and Sunday.
And Mal's going to be there with you?
Nope. No. Well, I mean, so until tournament week, caddies, you have to use a caddy from Augusta. So I'm actually Max and me are going. So the two of us are going to go play some golf and use a course caddy, and go hang out. So
take it all in.
It would be kind of sweet.
Have you been there to watch it before?
So we played a tournament in college my first 2 years at Augusta State University, and it was the weekend. We played Saturday, Sunday, the weekend before the tournament, the Masters tournament week. So we would play Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, all the teams that played would go and walk around for the practice. So I've been there for a Monday twice, but that's it. I've had one other chance to go and play it prior to this, and always said I had a goal. I didn't want to play Augusta until I had earned my rights into playing it. And so it's pretty cool to be able to say, okay, I've earned the right, and I'm gonna get to go play it.
Is that a superstition thing, or just like I don't feel like I can step on the grounds?
Yeah, just a goal.
Because most people will be like, yes, can we go tomorrow? I'm going.
No, just a goal, just a little bit something on the dartboard to keep you going.
Okay. I mean, to that point, what's on the goal board at the moment?
It's fun. I talk about this a lot with people. I'm a big non-believer in short-term goals. Like I learned early on in my career that if I'm focusing on something that I can attain kind of in the near future, I just lose sight of the bigger goals, right?
Okay, yeah.
And so I just have one goal, and that's to be the best golfer that I can be.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like because we're doing things, and I've been blessed to do things that I honestly didn't know if I could do, right? And so it's like I don't want to limit myself.
Yeah.
And so I know this. I know that we have a process put in place that is going to give me and give us the best chance to be as good as possible. And I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so I want to see. I want to see what that turns into.
Yeah, because I mean, breaking it down, all you can do is be the best that you can be every day, right? And that's going to take care of whatever it is to come. So
yeah, correct.
I like that answer.
It's like, of course, I want to win majors. I want to be right. I want to do all that, but I know if I am not the best me, that none of those goals are going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, everything else will take care of itself going forward. Are you talking of the Masters? Are you going to have a certain someone on the bag for the par 3 contest?
Yep, we have 2 things ordered. We've got the shoes for the missus that she's going to carry or walk around in for the day, and we have the outfit for the little one. Mm-hmm. Little things you learn along the way, like they told us, for the like toddlers, basically, the white jumpsuit for all the caddies. Yeah. They have like their person that you got to go to get that ordered and everything. Right. And so it's been all little things that you learn along the way like that. It's been cool, but yeah, that's just super, super exciting. And it'll be, it'll be just a dream come true,
And no doubt family, dad's going.
Oh yeah.
Take it all in.
Oh yeah. It's, if anyone has tickets that wants to, give me some, come on. I need all of them. Yeah. We've got a bunch of family and friends coming, but no, it'll be, like I said, it'll be a dream come true, and a bunch of family, bunch of friends, and it'll be a fun week. So I'm excited to get there next couple days, to kind of get rid of the off factor. Like I said, I've never played it, so it'd be nice to play it a couple times before the week of, so that I'm not sitting there looking around thinking about all the shots I've seen for the last 20 years while watching guys win tournaments and lose tournaments and everything. So it's it's gonna be cool.
I mean, if I ever get the chance, it's like it's something that you want to take an 8-hour round to be out there, because you want to research all those shots. You want to think of like Phil's shot on 13 through the trees, or whether it's like, I mean, Tiger shots down 10, and I mean all of the stuff, right? Like, and also it's going to be interesting to kind of catch up with you after you've played and hear the difference between playing there with nobody there and playing there with crowds, because of just when you see those pictures with nobody there, it's just like, wow, this is massive. Like this, when you see it with crowds, you're like, whoa, like you hit down that shoot on 18, you're like, this is this is really tight. Whereas when there's nobody there, I'm sure it's a little different. But that's super exciting. It's so ironic that you're going tomorrow. I love it. Getting towards the end, obviously, this has been an awesome time. The last 3 years has been really cool for you in the time that we've chatted. But obviously, if people watching the recording, there's a huge case of wine behind us. I know nothing of wine, but I know that there's some probably really cool bottles up there. Some of them, the ones that I would pick are the ones that look really cool. But I don't think we touched on, like your passion for food and wine. I mean, do you want to own a winery one day? Do you want to have a private label? Like,
oh man, I mean those are like. Yes, I don't know if I can make enough birdies
with a bunch of guys
to make that happen. But hey, so one of my good buddies that I think him as well. So his father-in-law is a drinker of fine wine, and I was at his house just recently in Scottsdale, and he just has like in a wine collection, like. Not that this is a collection, but you'll see a bunch of like kind of the same bottles of wine. It's because guys will order, a case at a time or something. And this father-in-law of my buddies, he just didn't have like a lot of the same bottles of wine. I'm like, this is weird. Like, it's really good wine, but like, what's going on? And he goes, I am not a collector. I am a consumer. So I don't know if I have a goal of having a winery someday. I just will continue to be a consumer and an aficionado of finding good, different wine. And it's just, hey, it's a good reason to go travel the world a little bit, maybe go over to France after the British Open and go find something that's different than here in the States. But no, it's definitely a passion. It's something I love. It's what I love most about it is the community of it. It brings it's a great way to bring people together and spend time over opening a bottle of wine and hanging out. So it's cool, and I'm excited to see maybe where this this passion takes me as life progresses.
Well, and no doubt it serves as a way that just takes you away from thinking about golf every day, right? Like it's something that, especially on your travels, and people who follow you on Instagram can go see that, like, if you're not, if you finish playing golf and you're in a place that's got a good winery or a good restaurant, most of the time you're there because it's not just, I need to go out for food and drink. You're actually interested in the places, the chefs, and now you understand the wine and the whole process. So it's not just about eating and drinking anymore, is it?
No, for sure. It's like I said, it's a passion, and anyone that's in has any kind of a excitement or wants to know about there's just that likeness, and people that it's just something people come together on, right? And it's a people from all walks of life tend to have something they are passionate for, and when it happens to be wine, it's just makes it fun, man. It's a cool journey. It's not for everybody. Right. I'm not going to try to turn everyone into a wino, but that's what's cool about it too. It's like you don't have to like be this like wine snob for us to sit down and have a glass of wine. Right. It's just a good way to just get someone together at dinner or after dinner, have a glass of wine, and go hang out. So I love it. Yeah,
I every time that I've been on golf trips with a certain guy who loves wine and he orders the wine, I drink it because I know he's like, he gets it. He's got not a collector, but he understands. And he does the whole sniff thing and the swirl, and I'm like, okay, Steve, you understand things. I will take a glass of that because it's not like your average $10 bottle off the shelf.
Hey, we all gotta have that friend. I just happen to be that friend sometimes.
Definitely. The other passion that I know that we both share is cars. So I know you don't have a lot of time, like most people, to go enjoy these cars, but thankfully, due to a wonderful new sponsor of yours, you have some new Cadillacs in the driveway.
I do. It was funny. So last fall, I had an old Yukon Denali that's, you start hearing about used car sales prices, and it's like, let's see what we can go get for this. And ironically, I'd seen, as probably a lot of golf fans had seen, some of the commercials and advertisements for Wilson up in Stillwater. And I knew that, the guys at Wilson had a good relationship with Oklahoma State golf team. So I just, give him a shout, and I'm like, man, thinking about trading this in. And he's like, man, I've been following you. Maybe we can talk about, some kind of a partnership here. Yeah. And so it ended up working out, and obviously they're awesome and they're doing a great job. And they took care of me, and so I've got the family car, and I've got kind of a fun car, which, by the way, when this is over, I'm going to have to let you start this thing up.
Well, yeah, but also it's not, sadly, it's horrific weather to go driving, and that thing would go,
especially with this thing.
Especially with that thing, it's just going to spin tires anyway. But it's another thing too that, and I know there's a lot of guys on tour that kind of, Ian Poulter is probably the most famous one that has a collection and has basically a separate house next to his house that's full of cars.
Yes.
And
by
he's
the way,
been
real
very
quick,
smart.
So at the match play, WGC match play in Austin last year, I was playing against Paul Casey, which, by the way,
he's sponsored by Porsche, right? Yeah.
He has Porsche on his bag.
Yeah.
So we started talking cars.
Right.
And so, obviously, he's been Ryder Cup teammates with Ian Poulter. And so I haven't spent any time around Poulter's, but so I know he's a car guy. Yeah. So I just bring up a conversation. I'm like, all right, what's like... Also, by the way, real quick, next week I'm playing Arnold Palmer, which is where Ian Poulter lives.
Yeah.
Remind me, I'm going to shoot you a text, a picture every day because he brings a different car every day.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
Oh, they're multi-million-dollar cars. It's amazing.
And that's what Paul Casey, he goes, Ian Poulter, Ian's never got a dime in his bank because his investments are in cars. Yeah. And so it's funny because I mean he literally, I mean, he has the most insane. I mean, he's got Enzos. He's got them all, dude. Yeah. Ferrari happens to be one of them, and so he's got a little bit of everything from what I've been told and partly what I've seen. But dude, so remind me next week. Okay. I'm gonna shoot you each day. I'll shoot you a picture of what he brings because it's absurd.
One thing to that point, I guess, what would be the not the goal car, because like there's I could name 10 and I'm sure you could as well, but if there is a time where you think I'm going to treat myself, like, I mean, what right now, what would you buy?
I mean, we've talked recently about this. GT3s are pretty freaking sweet. I love, because so my dad worked was in the car business for a while and worked at a Nissan dealership for a bit. And this was back in the 300ZX days. And so I remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is the coolest car ever. So then that proceeded to become GTR was like, that was, and so after kind of seeing, I have some other buddies who have some crazy cars, and I've sat and driven some of these crazy cars, and after driving like a GTR that's like an everyday kind of car versus like a Ferrari that like you're kind of afraid to take this turn a certain way, and like it for me that's why Porsche is such a draw entry, because it's like, dude, I can drive this every day. And so for me right now, that is, I said I didn't have goals, but I do have off the golf course goal. I would love to have a GT3. I don't know which one yet, but I would love to have a GT3.
Yeah. Right now is the wrong time to buy cars because they're astronomically expensive.
That's exactly right.
But in a year or two, they may come down. But yeah, the next time I'm able to drive one, I will bring it by the house and we'll go out one, because it's an experience. And the thing is, it makes you feel like you're a much better driver than you are, because they're so easy to drive. I get in a Mustang, it's 500 horsepower and I'm scared, but I get in a GT3 and I'm like, I can drive.
I can do this.
Anything. But man, this has been awesome. I really appreciate your time. I know we're getting up to an hour. It's been great to chat, and we could chat for hours on golf and cars and, lifestyle and all kind of stuff like that, and upbringing and just, living in Oklahoma, because I've said this to many people, who've been successful. A lot of people would have moved away by now, but, you're in the process of building a new house. You're clearly rooted here. You got family here, other than the odd ice storm, which the new house will take care of you, your practice facilities indoors. One thing that I don't think that we haven't talked about is kind of like Callaway. Like you're a Callaway staffer. What is your specs? I don't think we've ever talked about that. What's like your just general, like, I mean, for me, for example, I'm 1/2 inch long, one upright, because I'm a little tall, but.
So I'm the worst guy to ask about this,
because you have no idea.
No idea. I have no idea.
Does it change weekly? Like, do you get clubs changed? Like, do you just send them in and say, hey, I need, like, I'm swinging it this way today. Trackman says this. Will you bend it to make me hit it straight?
No. So I actually, ironically, like, I have the same hybrid I've hit since 2015. Okay. I have the same 3-wood I've hit since 2017. Like, we joke about all the time. It's like when you're a kid, like, new stuff is so cool. Yeah. Right? It's like the new driver, the new wet iron, whatever it may be. It's like you want the new of whatever. And it's funny because you get on tour and you kind of, everyone starts to fall into a different category of, like, you find something that you like and you know what it does. Yeah. You don't want to change. Right. And so I'm not a big changer. The only thing that I change on a regular basis are wedges. Yeah. But my hybrid and 3 would have stayed the same. I will say I'm not married to a putter. I'm not that guy. So, like, if I'm not putting well or things aren't going in, I bounce between like a blade and like a Odyssey 7. Okay. And so
I have a center shaft 7 that I've had for 15 years. Okay. Like, I just won't change.
There you go. And so that's what, like, there's guys that are married to their putters, and then there's guys like me. Like, I'm not married to a putter, so I'll jump around a little bit on putters, and then the wedges change probably once every 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. Just to get as fresh a grooves as possible. Basically, as soon as the grooves start to wear it all, I jump into some, the new one, a new set. And so, but no, man, it's Callaway's been great. I mean, they make all great stuff, and it's easy to stay with the same equipment because it's just with them and like the irons. I've had the same irons now for about 5 years. Like I've gotten a fresh set.
But the same.
I use a 789 blade and the 456, some of their cavity backs. And so I try to not change as much as possible. I try to keep things as the same as much as possible.
Do you change up the stamps on the wedges, or do they stay the same?
It's kind of funny. Of course, right out the gate, like I was like new stamp here, and then finally I was like, all right, this is just too much work. Just give me new wedges. I don't care if there's stamps on it, like whatever. The only time I've requested stamps over the last couple of years was at the Open. I wanted to have, Collins, my baby girl. I wanted to have her initials on a wedge, and so that's the only time I've requested any stamps over the last couple of years.
That's fair, right? That's justified. I played one tour event when I was back in Wales. I played the Wales Open in 2014 at Celtic Manor, and that was only because three of us played. Three of us who made the Welsh national team to play World Am we played World Am in Japan and then the week later we played the European Tour, and then I came late back to school. And the entire, well, I know, right? The entire goal for me that week was to just see how much stuff I could get.
Of course, absolutely.
Which I had a buddy on the TaylorMade truck at the time, so I had new driver, 2 new 3-woods, and I still have that 3-wood today because when you find something that works, you don't want to get rid of it, right? And it's got a Project X shaft in it, but it's got the original RBZ livery on the shaft. So everyone's like, who's this duffer with a slider 3-wood that's got this random shaft in it? But being at an event like that, it's kind of really cool to just be inside the ropes, and I kind of got that experience. I think I missed the cut by 2. I think I shot 1 over, and it's just I played with Anthony Wall and John Hahn, who was an American guy from Ohio, who shot 59 or 58 at European Tour Q School. Is what he's kind of known for, because he shot 59 and then 78, I think. But my entire goal that week was to try and get a Circle T, and I had no chance of doing it, right? Because I just want one, and I have a head cover, right? Typical golf piv. I have a Circle T head cover, but I don't, and I've putted with them in the past, and I putted with one that was kind of the same as Rory's. He had it was like the old number 5 Odyssey putter, but it was a Scotty Cameron. And it was welded shaft, and I putted with that, and it was the worst feeling putter I'd ever played with. I was so disappointed because I gave it back to my friend. I was like, I don't want this. It's worth $2,000. I just can't get it away from me.
So it's funny,
right? Are you a collector? Do you try and get stuff like that tucked away?
Well, that's
tour rats.
So right there, that's the only thing that I mean, that's the only kind of golf geek thing still in me is I love the head covers. And so Toulon, because obviously Scotty did such a great job from a marketing perspective, everyone wants head covers, right? And so every other company's kind of fallen in line and done something similar. And so that's one thing. Anytime there's a special edition, special run head cover out on tour, Joe Toulon, who is the tour rep for Odyssey / Toulon putters for Callaway. I'm always like, hey, give me one of those, dude. But I have another funny story real quick. When you said, being at a tour event, you want to get as much as possible. Right when I turned pro, I got a sponsor invite into the FedEx St. Jude's Classic, which was in Memphis, back in 2014. And basically 1st of June. And at the time I hadn't signed any contract with any manufacturer. And so one of my buddies was there, and so I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, all right, so no, I haven't signed with anybody yet. I'm talking with these couple companies. I'm like, let's just go and let's let them recruit us here. And so one of my buddies, we were able to get him a putter. We got him a Circle T, got him a couple head covers, the whole thing, and so we went and raided as much as we could that week, because there's just nothing better than walking on the tour van and just having, run of the place, basically. So it's a toy shop. That's exactly right.
That's one thing that I think through some of there, I won't mention the name of the company, but there is a company who have a pretty good kind of, both companies have a pretty good social media presence actually, but they have, a certain guy who does a tour truck thing, and it's amazing to see the truck go from just a single truck to now it like expands out. Like, I mean, it's a motorhome basically. And the stuff that they do there, I mean, it's incredible what they do. It's really cool to, you know, just to see that and be involved in it and see the differences and people's lockers on the truck. And like, that was kind of neat for me to see that. But different, you know, it's awesome.
We just started, I don't think we've talked about this actually. We just started a foundation, and we're going to have a foundation tournament.
Sweet. Talk about it. Let's tell the people about it.
Yeah. So we're going to have our first event for the foundation. My wife and I have talked for a while about wanting to start a foundation, and last fall, basically the tour has this kind of fall series kind of competition, and the winner was given money to give it to a charity of their choice, and I ended up winning. And so I said, hey, if I can start my own foundation, could I give that money to my foundation? And so it ended up working out. And so it was just, again, such a God thing, because most guys, there's a lot of guys who have a foundation on the PGA Tour, right? And most of them have their event every year is a golf tournament, fundraiser golf tournament for their foundation, raise money. And it was just, the timing of it was so perfect, because this spring in May, PGA Championship at Southern Hills. And so in my backyard, where my roots are, we're going to have the Monday after the PGA Championship, we're going to have our first event at Tulsa Country Club, which is 5-10 minutes from Southern Hills.
One of your favorite courses, right?
Yes. And so it's going to be super, super cool. We're incredibly excited, obviously, and we're actually we haven't announced anything yet. We're just now kind of getting it organized, but man, it's going to be super cool. We'd love to have you there that day in some sort of capacity. But yeah, man, it's going to be super cool. I now forget how I even got on this, but it's going to be super cool.
That's amazing, and that's really cool to, you know, like I said, it's really cool to, back to what you said earlier, finishing up, is that, you know, you're not going to be just known for what you do on the golf course, right? And just kind of like leaving like a legacy or whatever you want to call it of an impact. You look through that foundation, and that is the impact that, you know, the fruits of your talent, of all the effort that you put in, you now funnel through this foundation and see the impact that it has. You know, and that's, I mean, one of the best ways to do that, right, is through a foundation, to dedicate that to impact, and something that both of you are passionate about, you know, you and Ally can do together, and just kind of, you know, it's something that hopefully will outlast you and live on for a very long time.
And back to like earlier when you asked about goals, and that's why I said, you know, I don't really like to make goals, because you know, I've been so blessed and fortunate that we're doing things that I didn't even think were possible, and this is like one of those things. I never even thought it was possible to start a foundation. Like, you only think of like foundations as like these billionaires that go and do this, you know, whatever. And it's like, man, I had no idea that this could be in my future. And it's just so cool how God has laid the path for this journey, and for us to, you know, to shine light on him and to give back. I mean, that's what we're called for, and we're just, man, it's going to be super cool. I'm super excited. And obviously, you know, our focus is going to be on youth, on children, on kids, and just trying to, you know, provide opportunities and provide experiences, and you know, for those that are less fortunate, plain and simple. We want to uplift, you know, those who are in need. And so there's a couple organizations that we're going to partner with early on, you know, that we're excited to help out, and to see, it's gonna be so cool to see the impact that we're gonna be able to make. And like I said, it's such a God thing. We're super excited.
Awesome, dude. I think it's a great way to finish, man. That's it's been great to share some awesome stories over the last hour. Appreciate your time. Finally, congrats on the win. I don't think I've told you in person that, so congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Congrats on the foundation. It's amazing. Obviously, you've been married. You got married since we last sat down, which I'll never forget the day you got married, because it's also my birthday.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Which is hilarious. Right. So like every time you post your anniversary thing, I'm like, oh yeah, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah.
So, like, happy anniversary. And obviously, you know, your wonderful little girl as well. So congrats on all of that. Have a great time tomorrow and the next couple of days at Augusta.
Thank you.
That's just, I mean, can't wait to hear some stories.
If phones are allowed, I'll shoot some pics. I don't know how they're allowed here. We'll see.
But for people listening, I'll put Talor's Instagram, and do we have a website for the foundation yet?
We do.
Okay, I'll put the links to the foundation and all the Instagram stuff in the description. And for people listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.